welcome back to my vlog. It's getting a little dark out here, but I wanted to get this in outside. We got to get the government to do something about this global warming. My gosh, it's so hot out. I think it's 40 something. So part 26 of Flatland, section 16, how the stranger vainly endeavored to reveal to me in words the mysteries of Spaceland, part 3. Every reader in Spaceland will easily understand that my mysterious guest was speaking the language of truth and even of simplicity. But to me, proficient though I was in Flatland mathematics, it was by no means a simple matter. The rough diagram given above will make it clear to any Spaceland child that the sphere, ascending in the 3 positions indicated there, must needs have manifested himself to me, or to any Flatlander, as a circle, at first of full size, then small, and at last very small indeed, approaching to a point. But to me, although I saw the facts before me, the causes were as dark as ever. All that I could comprehend was that the circle had made himself smaller and vanished, and that he had now reappeared and was rapidly making himself larger. When he regained his original size, he heaved a deep sigh, for he perceived by my silence that I had altogether failed to comprehend him. And indeed, I was now inclining to the belief that he must be no circle at all, but some extremely clever juggler, or else that the old wives' tales were true, and that after all there were such people as enchanters and magicians. After a long pause, he muttered to himself, quote, "One resource alone remains. If I am not to resort to action, I must try the method of analogy," end quote. Then followed a still longer silence, after which he continued our dialogue. Sphere, tell me, Mr. Mathematician, if a point moves northward and leaves a luminous wake, what name would you give to the wake? I, a straight line. Sphere, and a straight line has how many extremities? I, 2. Sphere, now conceive the northward straight line moving parallel to itself, east and west, so that every point in it leaves behind it the wake of a straight line. What name will you give to the figure thereby formed? We will suppose that it moves through a distance equal to the original straight line. What name, I say? I, a square. Sphere, and how many sides has a square? How many angles? I, 4 sides and 4 angles. Sphere. Now stretch your imagination a little and conceive a square in Flatland, moving parallel to itself upward. I, what? Northward? Sphere. No, not northward, upward, out of Flatland altogether. If it moved northward, the southern points in the square would have to move through the positions previously occupied by the northern points, but that is not my meaning. I mean that every point in you, for you are a square and will serve the purpose of my illustration, every point in you, that is to say in what you call your inside, is to pass upwards through space in such a way that no point shall pass through the position previously occupied by any other point. But each point shall describe a straight line of its own. This is all in accordance with analogy. Surely it must be clear to you. Restraining my impatience, for I was now under a strong temptation to rush blindly at my visitor and to precipitate him into space, or out of Flatland, anywhere, so that I could get rid of him, I replied, "And what may be the nature of the figure which I am to shape out by this motion, which you are pleased to denote by the word upward? I presume it is describable in the language of Flatland." Sphere. Oh, certainly. It is all plain and simple, and in strict accordance with analogy. Only, by the way, you must not speak of the result as being a figure, but as a solid. But I will describe it to you, or rather, not I, but analogy. We began with a point, which, of course, being itself a point, has only one terminal point. One point produces a line with 2 terminal points. One line produces a square with 4 terminal points. Now you can give yourself the answer to your own question. 1, 2, 4 are evidently in geometrical progression. What is the next number? I, 8. Sphere. Exactly. The one square produces a something which you do not as yet know a name for, but which we call a cube with 8 terminal points. Now are you convinced? Aye. And has this creature sides as well as angles, or what you call terminal points? Sphere, of course, and all according to analogy. But, by the way, not what you call sides, but what we call sides. You would call them solids. Aye. And how many solids or sides will appertain to this being, who I am to generate by the motion of my inside in an upward direction, and whom you call a cube? Sphere. How can you ask? And you, a mathematician. The side of anything is always, if I may say so, one dimension behind the thing. Consequently, as there is no dimension behind a point has 0 sides. A line, if I may say, has 2 sides, for the points of a line may be called, by courtesy, its sides. A square has 4 sides, 0, 2, 4. What progression do you call that? I. Arithmetical. Sphere. And what is the next number? I. 6. Sphere. Exactly. Then you see you have answered your own question. The cube, which you will generate, will be bounded by 6 sides, that is to say, 6 of your insides. You see it all now, eh? Monster, I shrieked, be thou juggler, enchanter, dream, or devil, no more will I endure thy mockeries. Either thou or I must perish. And saying these words, I precipitated myself upon him. So when you can't use your mind, you resort to violence. Is that it? I threw that in. So that's the end of section 16. More tomorrow. I hope the heat pump kicking on didn't impact us. We'll find out. Make it a great day, and bye for now.